Okay. So at 7:03, we're going to call the meeting to order. For a matter of record, Mr. Delaney is serving dual role this evening. He will be serving as the clerk and the administrator. With that said, can I please have the sunshine law read?
Yes, pursuant to the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was published as an advertisement and has been posted on the municipal board here in the municipal building, as well as posted on the borough website.
And can everyone hear okay without feedback? Okay, great. So we'll just keep operating this way. Thank you. Can we please have a roll call, please, Mr. Delaney?
Mayor, real quick, both Councilman Good and Councilman Pacheco are locked out of this meeting.
Thank you.
Locked meeting is not checked. I'm not showing. Oh, here we go. In the waiting room in mid-hall.
Okay. There we go. Sorry, members of the public and Councilwoman Pacheco and Councilman Good. We have Mr. Delaney serving dual purposes this evening, and this is his first council Zoom meeting. So I apologize for a couple of technical issues there in the beginning, but I believe everyone's on now. So perfect timing. Thanks, Councilman Fotopoulos. And now we can move forward to roll call, please.
Councilman Cooper?
Here.
Councilman Fotopoulos?
Here.
Councilman Good?
Here.
Councilwoman McDermott?
Here.
Councilwoman Pacheco?
Sorry, here.
Councilman Sheridan?
Here.
And Mayor Kennedy.
Here. Thank you. Can we please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We can please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Prior to opening the meeting to the public, do any council members have anything on the agenda that needs to be pulled tonight? Okay, just want to check.
Amen. Okay.
I have to step away for a moment. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to open to the public for items on the agenda, please?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Did you get that, Jay? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, my binder. My binder.
Okay, at this point, we will go with a video show of hands for calling on the public for items on the agenda. Then we'll move to phone call. Mr. Lane? Mr. Lane, you have to unmute yourself.
Unmute me.
There you go. Yep, you got it.
Oh, okay. They unmuted me.
Excuse me?
They unmuted me.
Okay.
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. Regarding resolutions R 231, 232, and 233, can you give us some explanation of what's changed since the resolutions were last introduced on 8/18? Under communication reports, Councilwoman Pacheco, can you report on discussions with the police chief regarding First Street traffic calming, especially implementing the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit as being championed by the Keyport Environmental Commission. Councilman Potopoulos and Councilwoman Pacheco, can you report on the NPP floodgate discussions that were occurred at both the Keyport Environmental Commission and Keyport Harbor Commission meeting, especially regarding the fact that the proposed location is at the lowest point in the park, which will flood before the American Legion Drive floods. Under unfinished business, give a timeline and solution expectation for the Beachfall outfall pipe so that it will have capacity, full capacity for intense rainstorms while simultaneously dealing with storm surges. Also a timeline for the Pedestrian Safety Improvement Program public input session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Anyone else from the public that's video wish to speak about anything for the hearing, which would be a separate open public? Okay, next we'll move to the phone. Anyone that's on the phone and not on video, or on the computer and not on video, that we can't see you, raise your hand. If you would like to speak in anything, judge the hearing. Jay, you may have to unmute everyone because otherwise the phones, I won't know if they're trying to speak. They may already be unmuted. They may just have to mute themselves. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have everyone all muted. Okay. So if anyone on the phone is wishing to speak, just make sure you hit the unmute button. Going once.
Mayor, we can't hear you. I agree with Mr. Good, Mayor. Can't hear you.
Okay, unmute me. There's no audio coming through at all.
The last we've heard is going once.
Yeah, I heard that.
We can all hear each other, but we can't hear anyone in Borough Hall.
Wait, maybe that worked. That worked for one of us, I think.
That
I
works.
hope. Can you hear us now?
Yes.
That works.
Thank you. Can you speak to see if they could hear you, Jay? Or are they hearing me through my phone or through you? From my phone only. Okay. All right, well, that's working for now, so let's just go with that. All right, so going once, going twice from the phone lines on anyone that would like to speak. Can you hear me again?
Yes.
No. Yeah, you can hear me? Okay. Anyone from the phone lines wish to speak, please unmute yourself. Okay. Going once, going twice, 3 times. Can I please have a motion to close to the public?
Motion.
Second.
Who seconded, please?
McDermott.
Elia? Okay, thank you.
Notes.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed to closing to the public? Thank you. Next, we will move on to committee reports. Councilman Cooper.
Oh, no.
Can you just unmute yourself again? We didn't hear you, Councilman Cooper.
I'm going to have to defer mine to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Patapoulos?
Thank you, Mayor. Health and Registrar Report. A total of 162420 was collected in the Keyport Board of Health office in August. 88 was collected for Union Beach. Donna Purcell submitted the treasurer's report, and it's included for the record in the packets this evening. The recycling committee met on August 27th. We discussed new policy for the upcoming year. More to follow on that as we hammer it out, but so far the recycling office, Donna Purcell, DPW, and Bob Kutchman's team have been doing a fine job keeping the borough bulk recycling program going while the recycling center is closed. Especially worth mentioning is the combined effort of the DPW, Administrator Jay Delaney, and my colleagues on the dais for implementing a branch cleanup program to clean the streets in the borough after the flash storms we encountered, which the difference was you didn't really have to tie off the branches. You could just lay them out at the curb for pickup. We will continue with the program of calling the recycling coordinator to arrange for pickup of branches, leaf bags, and yard debris while we move through the fall season and until we open the recycling center. The Keyport Recycles website is updated on a regular basis and includes some upcoming shredding events that citizens may be interested in. Go to www.keyportrecycles.com for dates and locations throughout Monmouth County, as we're not having one here in Keyport this year. The committee voted to approve the small amount of funding needed to keep the website up and running and secure for the rest of the year and into 2021. They will allocate some of the funds, they will use some of the funds allocated for recycling to do so. The Environmental Commission met last month and discussed conditions down at Cedar Street Beach and what we're going to do there moving forward for the dune and beach restoration and preservation effort. We've submitted this project for the prestigious Association of New Jersey Environmental Commission Award, Environmental Achievement Awards. Mike Palmisano and I did a walkthrough of the back beach there and found some areas in great need of attention with regard to litter and maintenance of the dunes. The KEC will once again, no doubt, hold a safe and socially distanced effort to eliminate invasive plants and reinstall plants indigenous to the area, as has been our practice each year in November since 2017. I'll have more to report on that as well as dates in October. My recollection of the discussion that Mr. Lane referred to about the gates in the Environmental Commission meeting was minimal. Mr. Lane did bring it up, but there was no action taken. Finally, Council President Joe Sheridan is reviving the effort to attract oysters to the borough estuaries and has been in touch with the baykeeper, has kept the Environmental Commission involved, and has the full support of the Environmental Commission. The restrictions for oyster projects in the bay have eased a little bit over the years, and we're hoping to get some momentum on this effort, led by Joe and Meredith Comey from the Baykeeper. And that's a short one. That's about it. Thanks as usual for letting me be of service to the community.
Thank you. Councilman Good?
Thank you, Mayor. With regard to the fire department, they had for the month of August 49 calls totaling 237.5 hours, bringing their yearly total to 226, totaling a little over 1,500 man hours. They also had a very moving, touching 9/11 ceremony. It was modified from what they usually have. It was more of a drive-by stop-in, but we laid a wreath in the morning, myself and Councilwoman McDermott, a moment of silence, and one of the survivors of the second tower spoke about making it out. With regard to the redevelopment, in the last month, I know that we have met with a developer looking to move forward with certain parcels around the borough. Hopefully that will move somewhere. And then to Mr. Lane's question about the changes in the abatements, or what the applications were actually changed to correct the details of the project so that we knew when they were completed. A couple of the applications, when they were originally submitted, they were submitted and they had incorrect completion dates. So we had to have them resubmit them with the correct dates. And that's about all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman McDermott?
Thank you, Mayor. So Recreation 2020, September 26th, we're going to have in the Main Street ribbon cutting at 1:30 p.m. with the governing body and committee members, past and present. From 2 to 6 p.m. is the skate keyboard event, skate park keyboard event with prizes, DJ, and a skateboarding show. So all logistics regarding extra closing the streets, extra garbage cans, recycling containers, all those logistics, permits and whatever else have been communicated out to the respective borough members and departments. So I'd like to thank everyone for working with me on that. Movie night was postponed to September 21st due to high winds yesterday. The summer waterfront activities wrapped up this week. We are working on ideas for fun recreation committee events through 2020 with any allowances on following social distancing programs, and as those become available or possible, we'll send those over for council approval. We are working on refunds for the Triple Crown 5K. They're in progress. The Senior Center, on a regular basis, there were webinars offered to Senior Center members. Recent programs have included Fall Harvest Cooking Demonstration, Stroke, Are You at Risk, Diabetes Online Workshop. And for any latest updates or news, please visit the Keyport Senior Center Facebook page and like it, and you can receive regular updates as they become available. Public Works, Construction, Zoning, Property Maintenance, Library. Want to make sure that we're using the Keyport Online request link for any non-emergency items. DPW did put out portable toilets in Cedar Street and the baseball field. Those, I think, were 2 locations not identified. And now, and our waterfront area and Main Street Park have existing units already. So we should be covered in those, in the essential big locations. And also the skateboarding. The Main Street Park also has a location as well. Plans to open a recycling center in progress. And as Councilman Fotopoulos mentioned, and whenever that happens, we'll have updates on the borough Facebook and website page. Okay, the KCC activities had been steady over this period. Full report will be coming next month. Along with DBW, extra focus on the skateboarding park and waterfront during the excellent weather and increase in outdoor activity. Extra attention was done in areas around the events, including the Art Society event last weekend, the erecting of the MPP artwork of the River Queen, and the placement of new benches and tables at Mini Park. Also, working with the coordinator, we're monitoring the New Jersey CC grant funding. Regarding MPP.
Whoever has the happy dog, can they please mute themselves?
Okay, regarding NPP, Fireman's Park has been refurbished and with some tree and shrubs to be scheduled. I think they're beginning this week, if not next week. We also have a water line for sustainability of the plants. Thank you to DBW for working on that. The library masonry has been completed. Ribbon cutting is scheduled for October 3rd at 3 p.m. starting at the library, and I do know there's potential conflict with with another event in town, but again, that's the scheduled time. Bench placement program locations have been selected and shared with DBW for installation. The road closure barriers expected to be done in late September, and again, working with the police department on finalized locations, including where Mr. Lane had mentioned. MPP Facebook was launched, and again, please look at that for any updates. The map mural is in progress. I don't know if everyone's seen the paint. It should be done shortly, but we're working on it. The River Queen mural was completed and installed. So it's a very nice mural for everyone to visit. KBBC, Farmers Market continues every Thursday at the Fireman's Lot. We do have 2 billboards in display along the highway. Mini park lights were installed last week, and they were very well received. That's my report.
Mayor, we can't hear you again.
You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
What?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So I just want to point out on Councilwoman McDermott's reporting that the flyers that went out by Recreation Committee members for the skate event, say the event's from 2 to 6. So that was supposed to be the ribbon cutting and everything for the entire park, but they want that kind of to be separate. So they're asking for the ribbon cutting to be at 1:30 for the elected officials, and then the event starting at 2. So if the council members can mark your calendars, please, that the ribbon cutting is being requested by the Recreation Committee members to be at 1:30. Okay. Councilwoman Pacheco?
Yes, and I apologize. I'm home alone with my daughter during this. Police report, I'll just be brief. I noticed, and I should have said something sooner, that I didn't have the total number of calls for service, but it wasn't on the chart for some reason. But there's 36 case files and 2 DWIs this month. This month, unfortunately, we saw 7 of our officers quarantined due to COVID. 6 were quarantined due to exposure. 1 is still out. The others are back. But some good news, the Detective Bureau made an arrest for a major fraud case of over $30,000 lost to the victims. So good job to the Keyport Police. Well, I'm not surprised. They are the best. The Green Team, we met, we discussed, ways to get to silver. We are going to be reaching out to other Green Teams, in particular the one in Red Bank, to discuss how they handled the census and see if maybe we can kind of replicate some of the work that they're doing. Their next meeting's September 22nd. The Harbor Commission met last night. We discussed issues about the tide flex duct valves and related flooding, and we decided to have the engineers kind of make a report on that. We also spoke about trees and debris on Air Marine and possible solutions. The passive cleaning of the boat launch will happen next year. We also had discussions about enforcement of our no-wake zones and whether the Harbor Committee, like how we can better enforce that, since some people are kind of flying through the harbor, particularly by the boat launch, sorry. Our next meeting is October 13th. And Mr. Lane, I was dealing with the situation, but I think you wanted an update on discussions about the speeding on First Street. I have had discussions with Captain Torres about that. I'm going to actually be following up with her. I can certainly shoot you an email with any updates. I have your email. And also my recollection of the discussions regarding the gates was that we were going to kind of defer to what the engineers and the police wanted, but we're taking into account your concerns. And that is all I have right now. And I might have to jump off again. I apologize.
Thank you. Councilman Sheridan?
Thank you, Mayor. Right now, Senior Bus and Veterans Initiative meetings are on hold. We have a finance meeting this Thursday. The local emergency planning committee had a recent meeting to discuss Keyport's readiness for any oncoming hurricanes, and being this is a very active season. And this year it's a little bit of a twist with the pandemic and the COVID-19, but it seems like everybody's ready as they can be, and we'll just take care of things as they approach. Historical Society is doing its best to get ready to open whenever they can. They've been accepting donations recently, and in the near future, the Historical Society is going to have some very interesting items to show people when they come and visit. and they're just chomping at the bit, trying to get open. I'd like to thank Mr. Fotopoulos and the Environmental Commission for supporting the oyster idea. There's a number of things we could do besides planting actual oysters, which seems to be the obstacle. We could maybe plant oyster castles. And Mr. Lane had the idea that anytime we plant the oyster castles, we're going to have to identify them so no boats run into it and stuff like that. We could do that. But there's just a number of things that we could do because it's very important to maintain our waters as clean as possible because so many people use the waters, fishing, crabbing, boating. It just seems like we're putting ourselves at a disservice by not cleaning the water as best we can. And getting these little critters to help us clean is definitely the way to go. And lastly, I just want to piggyback on what Mr. Good said about the 9/11 ceremony. And it was responsibly done, very tastefully done. All the names are still up there if you want to stop by. But I thought Tom Gallo and Bert Almack and the fire department did a great job putting it together with the current issues going on. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we're going on to the consent agenda. Do any council members have any discussion for our 231 through 243?
Is there no mayor's update?
For a matter of time, I'm gonna sometime at the end of the meeting, but there's a lot ahead of us, so I wanted you guys to all give your reports. So. Does any council member have any discussion from R 231 through 243? And I please have a motion to approve 231 through 243-20.
Motion.
Second.
Can I please have a roll call, Jeff?
Councilman Cooper,
Aye.
Councilman Fotopoulos,
Aye.
Councilman Good,
Yes.
Councilwoman McDermott,
Aye.
Councilwoman Pacheco,
Yes.
Councilman Sheridan.
Next, we are going to have a public hearing on the Borough of Monmouth County Open Space Grant.
Mayor, by way of introduction, if I may, the Monmouth County Open Space Grant Program is a competitive grant program administered through the Monmouth County Parks and Recreation Department, and administered and approved by the Board of Chosen Freeholders. Last year, the borough submitted an application for this grant for improvements to the mini park. Those improvements were outlined as replacement of the asphalt with pavers on the lower level of the mini park, the addition of a portable canopy for the stage, upgrades to the electric service, construction of a shed for storage of foldable chairs, together with landscape improvements, benches, and tables. That grant is estimated, or those improvements are estimated with a cost of $300,000. As I indicated last year, the grant that was submitted was unsuccessful in funding. This year, for the council's consideration, in addition to the option of resubmitting this application, are improvements to the Cedar Street Park. Those renovations and improvements are outlined as follows. Improvements to the parking lot along Pine Street, improvements and renovation of the basketball court as well as the tennis court, replacement of the playground tot lot equipment, and the addition of a walkway from the parking lot on Pine Street around the perimeter of the ball field to the beach. Those improvements have an estimated cost of about $475,000. This grant program is a 50% match with a maximum award in the amount of $250,000. So both are offered for the council's consideration, and as it's been indicated, this is a formal public hearing to solicit input from the public on their preference as far as submission of one or a combination of those grant applications. They are proposed as standalone, given the estimated cost. This does not really lend itself to a multi-park improvement. So it's really at this point a matter of whether the council and the public feel that the resubmission of an application similar to last year's makes sense, or to move forward and shift gears to propose improvements to the Cedar Street Park.
Jay,
I will also mention that the borough engineer prepared the cost estimates and is available and is on the call this evening, or is in attendance at the meeting to answer any technical questions.
Mayor, if I may, just a quick question. Jay, how did we come up with these two projects?
Well, the assumption on my part was that the mini park was submitted last year, and since it was not funded, there was more than likely a reason that last year it was submitted. Given the conditions at the Cedar Street Park, it was suggested that this would also be a reasonable and attractive alternative grant application.
That was your suggestion?
It was.
Thank you.
Okay.
So-
Any other governing body before we move on to opening it to the public?
Yes, please, Mayor. Jay, the descriptions that you just outlined, did you guys send those out?
We have not. These are really conceptual designs at this point. There's not a lot that is required other than some, what I would call solid engineering estimates, but we have not prepared any bid specifications or solicited quotations.
So the application or the outline as it stands is okay. You and I actually, for full disclosure, we spoke about this offline, right? But
Absolutely.
so when would we be, if after this public hearing, and then resolution 24420, if we choose to approve it, would there be a time when we do put the specifics into this resolution, or do we have another resolution just from a procedural aspect?
Sure, and I should have provided that this grant application process requires submission of an application later this month. There would not be an award until early next year. So there's plenty of opportunity based on the grant award, presumably, that the project may be scaled to reflect, or more accurately, reflect the costs that would be covered under the grant based on the award amount. So there is plenty of opportunity before the final plan would be developed and bid specifications prepared.
So in other words, we're really focusing on the two possibilities that you presented tonight. There wouldn't be an opportunity for us to, or would there be an opportunity for us to readdress or change our minds once we get the grant, if we get the grant?
There is limited ability to shift. We would not be able to, for instance, shift a location, but some of the parameters, there's a general understanding that you may be looking, the grant application may have provided for improvements A, B, and C, but the level of funding may only allow options or items A and B.
There's a little bit of an echo, but maybe, okay, that answers most of my questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Before we open it to the public, Trevor Taylor is on. So Trevor, did you have any commentary that you wanted to add, or are we ready just to open it to the public? He may have to, do we have to unmute him? Or he might have to push *6. There you go.
Hi, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think Mr. Delaney pretty much covered the aspects of the application. If there's any technical questions, obviously I can answer those.
Okay. If no other council members have any questions,
Yes,
can I please have a
I
motion
have
to open? Oh, all right,
yeah.
go ahead.
So, so just to kind of do some corrections with this, regarding tables, I think most of the tables on the mini park would probably not need to be, the scope of the tables would not have to be replaced at the level that they were probably last year. Because we have new tables from MPP and KBBC that's being brought in. The other side, regarding the two locations, Cedar Street Park is in, for everyone's reference, I remember Cedar Street Park being asked to be put in last year, and somehow or another it wasn't in the scope of us fixing Benjamin Park as well as Veterans Park. That park, that's a beautiful area down there, and it's in dire need of repair regarding even a simple thing of putting a tennis fence up. It's in dire need, the Cedar Street Park, of repairs, as well as ensuring that our baseball field is also intact and in good standing as well, regarding the two locations. So thank you for bringing both of these up, because I think that's something that we need to also reflect in all full parks and services as we work to develop Main Street Park, as we work to develop many other parks in about 5 parks that we have. Regarding the scope of the money, I guess when we this application, if we need to drop money down or just that will be done during the final stages of this, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Once if we are successful in obtaining a grant, the final scope of work would be perhaps adjusted at the council's discretion based on the grant award. And again, reminding that the grant is a 50%, requires a 50%, or actually it's 100% match. Whatever we receive in the grant requires that it be matched with municipal funds or non-county funds if we had that option.
Thank you.
Any other council members? Can I please have a motion to open to the public for the hearing of the application process?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any members of the public have any commentary on this hearing? Mr. Lane? Do we have to unmute him?
He's good.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. The resolution indicates that the application has to be put in by September 17th, which is Thursday. Is that still true?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Second thing, and I mentioned it to one of the council people, in the past, when we've had these applications to the county, the details of the plan were made public, and myself and other residents wrote supporting letters and gave presentations at a meeting like this in support. All of this is being recorded and is supposed to add weight to getting the application approved. And I think we've dropped the ball here.
I think this is a matter of timing and, you know, as, you know, BA shifts and so forth this year. So,
Right. But
I don't recall seeing any detailed plans last year for the mini park one.
I don't recall either. And as I said, in the past, we've run campaigns to get residents to write support letters and come in multiple residents to be recorded, because in the application, it's very clear this meeting, this discussion has to be recorded and provided to the county. That's all I have.
Any further? Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to speak on this hearing?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Graham.
Yeah. Elmer Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. On the resolution, this resolution here, I think sounds like a good idea and stuff like that, and we should go ahead and go forward with the application, especially if it'll benefit the citizens of Keyport.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Please unmute yourself by pushing *6 if you would like to speak.
Jack Straub.
Thank you. Mr. Straub?
Yes, speaking on behalf of KBBC, last year briefly, we were advised when this initial application was put in for the mini park, because as you know, the mini park is used for many KBBC events. Unfortunately, we weren't able to hold any this year, but we hope certainly to have a full schedule next year. One of the reasons for the mini park being included, speaking with the previous borough administrator, number of pavers in disrepair, and in attempt to try to get the blacktop on the bottom leveled because it is not level, replacing that with some kind of stamped concrete to match the top, so it was a uniform look from top to bottom. And there have been various times when we have tried to put something together between possibly the borough, KBBC. We looked at doing some things last year. We tried to price out a canopy, but when this grant application became available, the previous borough administrator thought this was a good opportunity to try to capture some state funds to aid with the funding. So I think that was one of the reasons it was put forth last year. Since then, this year, KBBC, working with NPP, has tried to address just a few of those items in the mini park, possibly getting an estimate for the asphalt replacement. As you know, since then, NPP funding now has been cut. So there's a limit as to how much even working with NPP, KBBC could do. So there certainly are improvements in the mini park that would be beneficial moving forward for not only the KBBC events, for other events that could be held there, arts events or other things like that. And I mean, I believe the reasons for putting it forward last year are the same this year. It'd be up to the council certainly to see whether it's a monetary amount that they want to pursue. But given that we were turned down last year, I would say that reapplying this year, even with the same proposal as last year, would be worth the effort.
Thank you. Anyone else? On the phone line, please hit *6 if you would like to speak. Okay, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Can I please have a motion to close to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So next we will, can I please have a motion authorizing preparation and submission of an application?
Motion.
Second.
Can we have a discussion real quick, just for a second?
Yeah, hold on, are you guys hearing feedback from me or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Back. Yes.
How about, can you hear me now, okay?
Nah, you're still in echo.
Kind of muffled when you do that.
Phone's not working?
We don't hear you at all now.
Okay, how about now?
I don't hear Jay. There you go.
Yes, we hear you now.
Okay. All right, so it would be a motion for authorizing preparation and submission of an application to the Monmouth County Municipal Open Space Grant Program.
Question?
Oh, and sorry, Mr. Delaney is reminding if you can choose which project you want him to put submission in for.
Right, so that's what we have to we have to talk about that now?
Yeah.
In here.
Well,
Are we in discussion or do we have to make
Yeah.
motions?
yeah.
I'm not sure where we,
I think a motion was made in a second and now we're in discussion, I think.
okay.
Yeah. Am I right,
No
Mayor?
motion has been made yet. No motion has said we will need a motion. I can't make a motion. No one has made any motion.
I thought we did, but
No,
I'll
a
make-
motion to close.
Motion.
What are we are we picking one, picking two, or, 0 through
Jay,
2?
you want them to pick one or rate them?
Yes, if there's an overwhelming consensus to go in one direction, otherwise if there's any kind of a ranking. But at the end of tonight, we're looking for guidance on which project to move forward. The likelihood of receiving funding for both is slim to nil.
Can I make a commentary before you guys decide, since I won't be part of the decision? Why I do believe Mr. Schaub's comments were accurate. We should also consider what Councilman McDermott said, and that is that some of the upgrades that we were looking to do last year when we submitted this have been completed. And I just want to make a matter of correction that the MPP funding, we're still waiting on answers out, just like the rest of the state budget issues. So no final decisions have been made yet. And the mini park is part of the MPP territory. So hopefully MPP will be continuing to be funded. We don't have definitive answers yet on all of that. So it is an area that could potentially also see other grant money, where Cedar Street is kind of off the beaten path and not part of any other project going on. Just want to put that out there. Not saying either one, just putting facts out there, not anything other than that. Okay. And if you guys want to have your discussion, and then I'll need a motion for whichever one you guys decide.
Well, I, for one, think that Cedar Street Park is more in need, I guess, especially considering the fact that we did Benjamin Terry Park and Veterans Park. So now Cedar Street kind of looks like the ugly stepsister kind of thing. That would be my ranking, 2 cents.
My ranking, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step over you. That's good. My ranking would be Cedar Street, because the other side to this, we could use that for rec committee events in the summer, and for potentially also for trips to do summer camp next year, if and when we have it available. So that could be utilized for other activities besides, in addition to what is currently used today. And second preference, if we can go for mini park, if we go for both, we can, but priority would be Cedar Street Park, then mini park.
I like Cedar Street Park as well. Walking past it always seems to have people there, especially the basketball court. It needs to get resurfaced. The tennis courts, they did a nice job with that resurfacing. But that's one of our banner parks. There's a beautiful view of the water right there. There's a lot of nice baby beach grass that's grown up quite tall in that area. So I think we've been emphasizing that a good deal. I think upgrading the parks, that park, if we can, would be a smart idea at this time.
Ditto with that.
Councilman Patapoulos or Councilman Pacheco, do you have any commentary?
Nope.
Not anything different than what's already been said.
And then to move it forward, we would need someone to motion for Cedar Street Park or for mini park, and then we would have to do a second and a roll call.
I motion that we submit the Cedar Street Park for the project.
Second.
Can we please have a roll call, Jay?
Councilman Cooper?
Aye.
Councilman Fotopoulos?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDermott?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pacheco?
Yes.
Councilman Sheridan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Do we need, for any other reason, to do another motion for just to see if that would even have carried, or just this is enough for you?
I think that's sufficient.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you. Next, we go on to public hearing, adoption of ordinances. Ordinance 9-20, adoption of Hudson Point redevelopment plan. The clerk, I'm sorry, Jay will read the title of the ordinance by title.
Ordinance number 9-20, entitled An Ordinance of the Borough of Keyport in the County of Monmouth adopting the Hudson Point redevelopment plan for property identified as Block 120, lots 8 and 9, and Block 130, lots 42, 48, 49, 50, 51, and 52 on the tax map of the borough.
Thank you. Have a motion to open to the public, please.
Motion.
Second.
Hey, Councilmember Pacheco, are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to my daughter. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, that's okay. I'm sorry. Can someone wishing to open to the public? I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
Either me or Joe, flip a coin.
I second it.
Okay, so Councilman Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. As we open this to the members of public, because I do believe there are several people on this, while we cannot limit the time limit in the public hearing, I would encourage that we keep the first round of commentary to 5 minutes each, and then that way that gives people that have been waiting on this meeting call to be able to speak, and then we can come back and do a second round if need be. But just out of respect for other people's time, we can definitely open it, keep the round going if we need to. So if we can keep the initial commentary per person at 5. I'll go with video. Anyone that's on video first. Anyone on video have anything to speak on ordinance 9-20? You can raise your hand. Mr. Lane. Hold on one second. We may need to unmute you. Do we or he has to? Okay, you're unmuted now, Mr. Lane.
All right, Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. Later on, I have a set of slides to present, but right now I just want to raise the question, how can this hearing proceed in light of the notice deficiencies that I documented in my 8/8/20 letter to the borough clerk and the attorney? If I wanted to add a third floor to my home, the letter to the borough posted letter indicates the applicant, I would have to notice all the residents within 200 feet of my property just to raise the roof of my house over 30 feet and to put a third floor on. The townhouses across the street from me, which created a subdivision, divided property, changed boundaries, changed building heights, changed density, etc. They all had the same issues. They had to notice all the residents within 200 feet. This redevelopment plan changes the zoning to a vacant lot, a vacant single-family lot, lot 42, block 130, and allows the construction of 2 completely different principal dwellings with a combined capacity of 4 dwelling units on an undersized lot for multifamily. And think about it, that, 5 abutting properties, all of the sun are going to find that they're right next to their property line. There's 4 dwelling units, building heights up to 38 feet, 3 stories, and with side yards of 4 feet. And nobody's noticed them. Nobody's given them any insight about this is coming. All these changes are possible with the redevelopment plan. And once the redevelopment plan is adopted, these set the standards. So you can't go in and argue against them. If somebody wants to build 4 dwelling units on a single family lot, if they want to build a 38-foot high building right next to your property line. And, how do the borough council people feel about this? I mean, just think if it was your property or your neighbor's property. I mean, it's just happening to them.
Mr. Lane, I'm going to defer this to Mr. Baumann since he is our redevelopment counsel and he is on the call right now. So, Mr. Baumann, were the proper notifications made?
Yeah, Mr. Lane, the answer is really simple. The redevelopment law does not require that we notice the adjacent property owners when you adopt the redevelopment plan.
Thank you, Mr. Baumann.
A redevelopment plan creates new development. The development rules in the municipal land use law say you have to notify residents within 200 feet for new developments.
They're not applicable, Mr. Lane, to this.
I disagree with you on the research I've done, and I will give a presentation to that detail. But more important, how do the individual council people feel about this? Just imagine you own lot 107 on 7th Street, which is an absolute gorgeous house. And this redevelopment plan will allow the construction of a 2-family house with parking totally occupying the front yard. And behind that, again, right next to your property, a duplex unit up 38 feet high with 4 feet off the property line. Just, do you have any concerns with that? Thank you. And no notice. Think about it. No matter what the law says, you haven't noticed these people.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Any other members of the public wish to speak that are on video so I could see your hands raised, and then we'll go to the phone? Yes, sir. Mr. Boyko?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is Tedros Polk from 78 Manchester Avenue. I hope that everybody's doing well before I begin my comments. I hope everybody's safe and healthy. Now,
just
hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, Mr. Polk. Yes.
for the record, I just want to make clear, could I have the spelling of your name, please?
his last name Polk, P-O-L-K. First name Tedros, T-E-W-O-D-R-O-S. I've emailed you a few times, actually. My name is Tedros Polk, P-O-L-K. I was emailing you a few times last week.
And your address?
He just needs your address.
78 Manchester Avenue.
Thank you. He's serving dual roles tonight, so that's, you know,
Okay.
he doesn't have all this information right in front of him right now. So,
Okay.
yeah, okay, go ahead, Mr. Polk.
All right, thank you. So I guess I haven't spoken to the council for quite a few weeks since we were discussing this redevelopment plan. We live directly on 78 Manchester Avenue. As some of you may know, a lot of the properties on this street, as well as the streets nearby, some of them are just 1-floor properties and some of them are 2-floor properties. But with the current redevelopment plan, where it's, the developer is planning to put up 38 feet high duplex properties, is going to be very, very overwhelming for the nearby homes. If you look at the house that's directly opposite our house, which is on 78 Manchester Avenue, that's a single floor ranch style house. And next to it, there's going to be a 38 feet duplex. So, if you just take a few moments to even drive by our street and see the potential difference in the size of the houses, you're going to notice a very, very significant difference between how one house is going to appear next to the other. So now, in terms of the negative effect that it will have on the nearby homes, because a duplex is not going to be priced the same as a single family. So no matter, I've seen some of the other pricing for these duplexes nearby in Keyport from the same developer. I see that he's charging, for example, $400,000 for a townhouse for one of the duplexes. That doesn't necessarily, is not going to translate well for the nearby homes on that same street, because somebody that's going to spend $400,000 on a townhome is not going to look into a 1-floor ranch house and say that they shouldn't even spend any money on that. So the negative effect that's going to have on the nearby homes is not going to be as, as positive as some of you may think. And beyond that, I'm recommending, and I highly suggest for the council to consider putting single family homes on these lots rather than duplexes. Because right now, I think there are 3 duplexes that are being planned to be put there. So instead of 3 duplexes, I would recommend that the council, recommend and approve or reconsider and potentially recommend to the developer the possibility of putting 4 single families on that same lot. And I'm speaking of lot number 48. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Polk. Anyone else on video wish to have any commentary on this public hearing? Yes, ma'am.
All neighbors against it. All neighbors against it. The only neighbors who not against it, who got houses built from him. That's all what I want to say.
again, Mayor, just so that the record is clear, your name, address, and if you could spell your name, please.
Tetyana, Tatiana, and last name B as a boy, Oyko, 78 Manchester Avenue.
Thank you.
Any members on the left on the video that wish to speak on this hearing? Okay, can we please move to the phone lines? If you're on the phone lines, please hit *6 if you would like to comment on this hearing.
Yes.
Graham, are you speaking? Go ahead, Mr. Graham.
Yes, Elmer Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. I would also definitely favor on those lots over on 70 Manchester Avenue. I would also favor having single family homes and stuff like that. You know, it would be, I think that would be much better for the area and stuff like that instead of having a big development and all that. So I think low family, you know, low income homes would be good there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Anyone else on the phone lines wish to speak at this hearing? Okay. Mr. Lane, I'll circle back to you. I do believe you wanted to be able to present. So is Jay, does he share the screen or you're sharing the screen?
If Mr. Lane is prepared to proceed, I will allow him to share his screen.
Okay.
Says we're still disabled.
Okay, hold on 1 second. You may have to give him, you may have to release permission. I wasn't sure. That's no one knew. I forget where that part is.
No, we're sharing your screen.
I think you may have it. So it may just, hold on 1 second, sorry.
I think we can go. Can you see this now?
Give me full screen.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Everybody see? Okay.
Yeah, that's not the first slide.
It's not the first one?
No.
Okay. No, we didn't set it back to the beginning. Sorry about that.
Okay. The amendments to the Keyport zoning ordinance 25:1 are generated by this Hudson Point A redevelopment plan. The plan, the present zoning ordinance that we have delineates the definition of districts and zoning schedule. And this present zoning ordinance was generated by a team of about a half dozen very experienced residents who spent months and months developing the zoning ordinance. And when we developed the zoning ordinance, we were aware of the fact that Manchester was to be a redevelopment area. And there were boundary conditions put in the zoning ordinance and hoping of ensuring that the Manchester area was in harmony and fit with the surrounding neighborhood. The Hudson Point redevelopment plan, though, provides a whole set of development regulations different than what's in the zoning ordinance. It identifies building boundaries, permitted use, and multiple schedule changes that don't come close to matching the zoning ordinance. The plan replaces the Keyport zoning districts with 4 or 5 different sub-districts. Totally new, with a whole set of specs that are different. Go ahead. An example of this is in terms of zoning boundary changes, the lot 52, which is a single family lot, is going to be converted to a multifamily lot. Lot 42, which is a single family lot and next to 107 7th Street, beautiful home, is going to be divided into 2 lots. One lot, part of the lot that fronts 7th Street is for a 2-family dwelling, and the back of the lot is for a duplex dwelling. And it's interesting, for exactly the same zones that are defined in the zoning ordinance, this redevelopment plan changes the zone requirements. An example of this is for the single-family sub-district. It allows a maximum height of 35 feet, where the RA district is 30 feet. Now, if you were to go before the zoning board for approval for a 35-foot home, you would need a D variance, and you'd have to justify the positive and negative criteria. It's a huge step in a regular zoning ordinance. The 2-family sub-district spec supersedes the single-family RA zone, again, in the back half of lot 130. And there's just multiple cases of D variance changes in a normal process, and lots of bulk changes. And as I mentioned before, you're talking about buildings that are as high as 35 feet. This is for the 2-family. All right, next one. The duplexes in the back, the buildings are as high as 38 feet. And again, you got density that's not allowed in this zone. So again, a D variance for density, a D variance for height, and a D variance for lot area. We're going to put this duplex on a lot that's just barely big enough for a single-family home. So it's interesting, the municipal land use law, as well as Chapter 7 of the requirements for the municipal clerk defined by the municipal land use law, indicates that when you're going to change the boundaries and the classifications, you have to notice residents within 200 feet, and you have to notice 10 days before the hearing. And neither one of those have been achieved. And so there's 2 major notice deficiencies. Now, the notice deficiencies, the objection was documented in a letter. And again, it comes back to, we're going to make all these changes in this neighborhood right next to residents of Keyport that are occupying single-family homes on single-family lots without any notice to them. Just imagine finding out after this resolution is approved, if it's approved tonight, that all of a sudden there's the capacity to have this kind of structure right next to your 1-story home, your 2-story home. No.
Okay? Yeah. What are y'all doing out there?
Oh, we were just playing around with the fire pit.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Am I still on? All right. Second issue is the local redevelopment and
Mr.
housing.
Lane, hold on one second. Mr. Graham, can you please hit mute on your phone? Go ahead, Mr. Lane.
Okay, the local redevelopment and housing law adoption for a redevelopment plan. The you referred this redevelopment plan to the planning board, and they were required to give you feedback on its consistency with the master plan. They were required, and they were allowed to comment on any other matter that they wanted to report back to council. It's interesting, at the start of the planning board meeting, the planning board attorney told the members of the board that the only thing they could comment on was consistency with the master plan, which wasn't a fact, because the redevelopment law is very clear. They could make whatever other comments they wanted to make. There was no public input at this session. And the only real input was from the planner. And it's interesting. There were people from the team that developed the master plan that wanted to participate because we spent a lot of hours and we structured the criteria to ensure harmony and fit in this neighborhood, and no input was allowed. The borough, the board concluded that there was
The board considered this task for a period of 15 minutes.
yeah, oh, yeah. And the board really diligently considered this task for a whole 10 or 15 minutes. And you can verify that by listening to the recording. Now, it turns out that the master plan and zoning ordinance outages are very significant. The plan, as I said, and this is a big outage, splits the single family RA district lot 42 on block 130 into 2 lots. And on these 2 lots, you're allowed to build 2 different principal dwellings with 4 units. And this is permitted by this plan. And it's 3 times the amount that the master plan allows in this zone. And it also changes the zone boundaries. It also changes the zone allowed use. So that's not in alignment with the master plan. The plan also reclassifies the present single-family RA lot 52, block 130, as part of a approximately 1.1 acre multifamily area with a density of approximately 43 units per acre. Now, this is more than double the 2017 master plan recommendation for densities north of Route 36. The master plan crafted very carefully that on one side of the highway, you could have very high densities. On the north side of the highway, the densities would be controlled. And the control was around, and it's very specific, it's 20 units per acre. So areas identified in the master plan, a couple of interesting facts. And I don't know how many people have actually looked in detail, and I know the planning board didn't look in detail at or my perception is they didn't look in detail, or they would have discovered or noted things like the map and the zone definition is for 75 Manchester district. And there is no 75 Manchester district. It's the Hudson Pointe district. And so if you look at the figures, figures 1 through 5 all reference the 75 Manchester redevelopment district, not Hudson Pointe. In addition, the figure 5 is just unreadable. It has all the sub-districts in it, and it's not in color, and it's not readable. So I don't know how any judgment can be made on that. Next one. In addition, the ordinance and to adopt the redevelopment plan is very specific in that the Hudson Point redevelopment plan, if you look at the document that was produced by Beacon, they never specifically or explicitly map the redevelopment area. It's implied with the list of lots, but there's no map, there's no specific map. And the ordinance adopting the redevelopment plan has to explicitly amend the zoning map. And this should be in existence. And there is no documentation of this zoning map, explicit documentation. That's a shortcoming. So in summary, the planning board didn't permit any public input, which I think is a real serious situation. There was no notice to residents, And there was never any, there was just a lot of missed inconsistencies. Again, the zoning map, there's no explicit definition of it. The multiple figures refer to 75 Manchester redevelopment district, and we're not generating a 75 Manchester redevelopment district. Figure 5, as I indicated, is not readable, and the redevelopment plan outlines you need to take the redevelopment plan outages seriously in your outages relative to the master plan seriously in your deliberation, because when there are outages, it changes the rules on voting. Finally, critical change for fit and harmony to 5 single-family homes abutting lot 42, block 130, and to only allow 1 single-family dwelling on lot 42, block 130. Presently, the Beacon plan takes the front half of lot 42 and defines it as a 2-family subdistrict. It takes the back half of lot 42 and defines it as a duplex subdistrict and fronting on a parking lot. Now, this is a lot that fronts on 7th Street, if you look at the picture here, and it's a narrow 50-foot lot. So the side effect of that is that all the surrounding lots, which are single family, lot 41, which is just to the right side of lot 42, lot 43, which is to the left side, lots 45, 46, and 47, which run parallel to lot 48, are all single family lots that are going to be burdened by this 4 dwellings. Imagine 4 dwelling units, no parking spaces, except totally in the front yard.
Oh.
And now what's interesting is not only do you have that crowding, you look at the specifications for this construction. And the density is going up, which would normally be a D variance. The lot size is undersized, again, a D variance. And the height is going up, again, a D variance for the building in the front. Now, the building in the back, you find the same thing, is density 2 units. And again, building height 38 feet. Can you imagine a building 38 feet right next to your backyard? 4 feet from your backyard, 38 feet high, 3 stories. And this is from the backyard of lots 47, 45, 43. It's hard to comprehend. And you're not getting any warning.
Right.
Go ahead. An example of this is a beautiful house on 7th Street. 107 7th Street, immaculately maintained. The lot to the left of it is lot 42, where they want to build the duplexes. Can you imagine we're going to build that building 5 feet off the property line to this house, when we're going to take the whole front yard of that building and make it parking? Go ahead. So in summary, the only thing that should allow on lot 42, block 13, is one single-family dwelling. And if you're really going to align with the master plan, if you're really going to support protecting and enhancing single-family neighborhoods, you don't do it by converting this one single-family lot 50 feet wide into a lot supporting 4 dwellings with heights up to 38 feet. Secondly, building on Mr. Pope said, is lot 48, which fronts on Manchester, where the proposal is to put 3 duplexes, will absolutely overwhelm the adjacent properties. And again, like 5 feet from a 1-story home, we're going to have a building 38 feet high. The total front yards parking, no on-street parking, where a straightforward change to provide 4 single-family homes at almost no cost difference to the developer, it'd be his contribution to the neighborhood, would fit and be harmony with the surrounding homes across the street, which are all single-family and are less than 2 stories. The houses next to them, single-family, again, less than 2 stories. I urge you to look at this plan and adjust it so lot 42 is only for single-family and for lot 48 is only for 4 single-family units. Thank you for the opportunity to give input.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any members of the public that have joined afterwards wish to speak?
Hello,
if you're
this
on the phone, please hit *6. Hello. Janet, were you trying to
Yes.
speak?
This is Janet Bogle, 67 East Front Street.
Hi, Ms. Bogle.
Hi, I would tend to agree with the residents of Keyport that have been speaking tonight that it does not make a lot of sense to be putting such large buildings in that single family neighborhood. I would not want that in my neighborhood, so I do concur with what I've heard today. And I also would like to thank Mike Lane for all the work he does on behalf of the residents of Keyport. I appreciate it. I know there's residents that appreciate it. And I know many council members appreciate it, but I do notice by the expressions of some faces of some council people, of their expressions, I want to tell you that we can see your expressions whenever Mr. Lane speaks, and it would be nice that he's, presented a little bit more respect because we do appreciate everything he does for the residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to jump in. I've been disciplining a very unruly child, so if I've any facial expressions that I have made are certainly not towards anybody but her. So I'm alone with her today, so I just wanted to throw that out there. I apologize.
Any members of the public wish to speak that haven't spoken yet on this hearing? If you're on the phone, please hit *6. Okay. Can I please have a motion? Actually, is there any other commentary from our redevelopment council?
Sure, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify a few points, I think. And I do appreciate Mr. Lane's comments. He's always very thorough. I agree. So first, in terms of notices, the MLUL is not applicable in the redevelopment context, and the governing body has certainly complied with the redevelopment law and done all the proper notices. Putting aside what's required, we shouldn't forget how much public notice has gone into this process to date. I think it's disingenuous and certainly misrepresentation to suggest that the neighbors and the town is not aware of what we've been doing. We've been working on this for well over a year. We've had multiple public hearings, multiple Facebook presentations, multiple analysis by professionals. So this is one of many, many meetings that have occurred. And I think as one neighbor said, she's spoken to all her neighbors. So this will not be a surprise to the neighborhood. That's not really fair, Mr. Lane, and it's not rushed either. That's not fair either. This has gone on for well over a year. Everybody's well aware of it, and it's been carefully noticed. The other thing that I think is important to remember is what's there today, and what exists in that area now, which is a blight on the neighborhood, an industrial site that will remain an industrial site. We had a professional that presented to us the economics of doing single-family home, which I think the governing body would likely embrace if it was economically possible. And the numbers bore out that that was not an option. So while that might be preferred to some, it's not a viable financial option for the property owner and the builder. And we have some numbers that back that up. So what do you do when you have a situation where you have an industrial site that is an eyesore that will continue to be that could be regenerated as an industrial site, and you want to do something with that? And so this governing body took the developer's wish list, went through multiple public hearings, Facebook was announced and people were invited, and whittled down that project, worked very hard to squeeze that project, make it smaller, redesigned it through many, many hours, both privately and publicly with the public, to get to a project that is more acceptable than what was originally proposed by a lot. It's not even close. It's not recognizable what they originally proposed to what we ended up with. So this governing body diligently, carefully went through this process, again, over many, many months, many, many public hearings. And I'm sure they've also been out speaking to the public, because that's just who they are. So that you can't discount the amount of public involvement, and you can't discount the amount of notice that's gone into this process. I think to say otherwise is just simply not fair. So the governing body comes to this process as your fiduciaries after carefully considering all the possibilities, and after carefully considering what's there today and what could be there with this project moving forward. So I just wanted to clarify those few important points. Finally, I think as to the master plan discussion, you'll see in the Beacon report, there's a pretty robust description of how it's consistent with the goals and objectives of the master plan. And that's what we're talking about, whether or not it's consistent with the goals and objectives of the master plan. And Beacon Planner, which is a well-respected professional in this field, did the analysis. The planning board, while they may not have deliberated for a long time, they certainly had the documents. And to attribute that they didn't think about it because they didn't speak about it at the meeting is unfair. That's assuming that there was no thought gone into it before their meeting, which I don't think is appropriate or fair. And then I just sort of would wrap up by saying I wouldn't read too much into people's facial expressions either. People are distracted during these Zoom meetings, and it's never a reflection on the speaker, I don't think. So it's certainly not for me anyway. So I just wanted to clarify the legal notice requirements were met, both in form and in substance, and to suggest otherwise there. And it was certainly, there's been a lot of due diligence and a lot of effort on this governing body and professional conclusion. It was done quickly. What you can't say is that they disagree with it. Everything officials to make sure. That's all I have. Thank you.
Can you hear me, or should I wait for the mayor?
If you could hold, please, just wait for the minute.
Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. I had a tech glitch on the phone. And just for a lot of people that haven't been on a meeting recently, what I do is I dial in on my phone because we have to have different mute options in the council chambers. But it was brought to my attention by a member of the public in the beginning of these meetings when they were being held by Zoom, because my face wasn't showing up. And then I was told that I was being cowardly by not showing my face in the council meetings. So I make sure that I have two different ways of communicating. So I have the laptop live, and then I use my phone to call in. So when people see me touch my phone, that's also been misconstrued that I'm on my phone during a council meeting. So I would like to comment that while we try to move business forward as best as we can, during this pandemic, it is definitely interesting times. And as Attorney Bauman said, we can't take everything at face value, because just like everyone, we could see everyone else's faces also. But with that said, I would also like to say that we have spent the last year, I do believe, why sometimes the dais disagrees on different things. One thing that has been a consistent agreement throughout the last year is that the members of our public are important and that their input was important. And I would like to commend the redevelopment committee for how they've conducted this over the last year and a half, actually, and bringing this back to the table multiple times and going out and speaking with the constituents and having a hearing. Whereas previous hearings used to be that one person would speak and dominate everything and we wouldn't hear from all the rest of the members of the public. We made sure these evening meetings were held before bedtime so that people can make it instead of not having to be able to get home to put their children to bed. We made sure that the meetings were flowing in a manner similar to this evening, where we would have people speak for 5 minutes and then come back up if there was time permitted, which in each meeting there was time remaining at the end. We never shut out any public from any of the public meetings that we've had regarding this. And that's exactly what I believe is part of democracy. And I believe sometimes you have to come to a compromise. And I do believe that the developer came with an extremely high volume, I guess is the right word, development. And from feedback from members of the public, and I think Councilman Patopoulos can even agree on the fact that he and I both agreed that if we had a magic wand, that, I had this magic concept of hoping that that could become Manchester Estates and that it would just be maybe 11 to 12 single family large homes to continue the look down of Maple Place. That's not what we have at our hands. We've had developers come in that have over the last 7 years that I've been involved, come in and they wanted to put milk production manufacturing plants there. Speaking to the residents back then, no one wanted the trucks in and out all night. They did not want it turned back to industrial. As Mr. Lane pointed out, conversations took place during the master plan revision that people were aware in that neighborhood that the likelihood of it remaining industrial really didn't fit the area either. So what do? You're at crossroads, right? You have people that want to come in and they want to squeeze a whole bunch in, but I think as a governing body as a whole, we're unified and hearing the public and saying, no, that's too many in that area. It doesn't meet the dynamics of what the vision is. As a term Councilman Patopoulos often uses, of smart growth. And they went back to the table and they spent that money and they came back with a better plan. As Mr. Bauman said, is it the perfect plan and the magic wand plan? No, but I think to say that we do not care about public input or public perception or public thought or neighborhood neighbors in the neighborhood, I disagree with that. And I do not agree with the statement that every single neighbor is in disagreement with this plan. With that said, I would like to open for our council members to have something to say, and then we can go back to any of the commentary that Mr. Lane has already commented on. And then this does not close the hearing, but our council members haven't had a chance to speak yet. So we are still in a public hearing, but I think it's fair to give them a shot since many accusations were just made to how they've handled this.
Mayor, may I speak?
Councilman Cooper, yes.
I've listened patiently to all of the complaints that some of these people make, most of which do not attend most of the meetings. As far as I'm concerned, the council, the mayor, especially Joe Sheridan, Good, and all the others, put in an enormous amount of work and effort, and they don't wave a flag about it. And then if you're looking at people's expression or anything, this is supposed to be a part-time job. I don't know of any member of that council that spends part-time on anything. They spend full-time, and some of them even neglect their family. And in order for people to have some criticism about something, make sure you're doing your job yourself.
Councilman Cooper, Councilman Good, as the chair of redevelopment, do you have any commentary?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just a couple of things. One, I'd like to thank you for your statement. It was 100% correct. The issue, if we had a magic wand, would definitely be not having this. But along the same lines that we can't let perfect be the enemy of a good plan. Is it perfect? No. But we have to recall that what's sitting there now is a dilapidated light industrial manufacturing building. So to the extent Mr. Lane says waking up one day and poof, there's going to be a multi-story residence next to, right now, waking up in that house that's right next door is looking at a crumbling manufacturing wall. To a building that hasn't been occupied in a decade or plus. The issue, as I see it, is that the master plan wants more residents, wants to move away from, in harmony with the surrounding area. Right now, you have a light industrial sitting in the midst of a residence. So all of the fact that you can't argue to say that this is not moving towards the what the master plan is looking for. These are residents, and the 2-family homes that are now going to be built where a parking lot is. We got the developer to agree to that. I do take issue with Mr. Lane's characterization as nothing more than we didn't do our jobs and we didn't push back. I think that that's unfair. I think that that's just either is not accepting what we go through. And I know that for myself, Mr. Sheridan, Mr. Patopoulos, we were back and forth, and the mayor too, I think, was in a couple of meetings, back and forth with this developer to try to get it to something that would be palatable to everybody. The finances weren't there to say you can only build single family homes. And the alternative to not doing anything was to leave a, once again, decrepit manufacturing building that at any time could have said, you know what, let's start manufacturing it again. Nobody wants that. It's just, this is one of those issues where it's not perfect. We couldn't make it perfect, but we're not going to just slit our own throats just because it's not perfect. And I want to commend Mr. Sheridan and Mr. Vitopoulos for the work that they've gone in. I'd like to thank Mr. Baumann also for giving us the legal expertise, even though Mr. Lane doesn't think that you're legally correct, but we'll let that go. But I think that's what I have, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council President Sheridan.
Thank you, Mayor. Well put by you, Mayor Kennedy, and also Mr. Good. Thank you very much. This has been, this whole project, I've been doing this for almost 15 years, and I don't recall any project getting more residential input and having the developers go from where they started, way over here on the left, to where you see it in front of you right now. I think it's a tremendous meeting of of what the residents want. Is it all the single family homes? No, it's not. It's not. But right now you have a dilapidated warehouse. 75 Manchester's a horrible place. Every meeting I hear metal blows off the roof. I hear it's unsafe. We put our engineers there. They say it's safe. It's an eyesore. It needs to go away. It needs to be improved. It needs to be developed. A plan came forward. It may not be the best plan, but we worked this plan. We worked hard on this plan. And I think right now this plan is progress for the future. It's gonna make that part of Keyport shine, and it's a win for Keyport. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Patapoulos?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your comments. Without parroting them, because they were astute and well put, I want to thank you and Councilman Good, Councilman Sheridan on the redevelopment committee, and the rest of the council members who have sat through the countless meetings for this redevelopment project. I've spent the better part of 6 years paying close attention to redevelopment, and I've fallen on both sides of this. The record shows that. The record proves that. I haven't been on council for 6 years, and indeed I've opposed certain redevelopment projects that have been presented before council. Sitting on the planning board, I've experienced developers that were really dead set on what they wanted, and if they weren't going to get it, they were going to take their redevelopment and go home. I've said this before, this redeveloper came in with a very dense, and it was previously stated, a very dense project that we were able to work with them to find a way to make it less dense, to move what amounts to, I know we're saying they are duplexes. I have a duplex behind my home, and my home is a two-family home as well. There are a lot of them in Keyport, and quite frankly, there are quite a few in the neighborhood that we're talking about as well. And the height that even the height they originally came with was too high. So we've gone back and forth on some of the finest details of this project, and here's where we are. We've not had any, and I've looked, we've not had any single family interest in that property prior to this developer, or even while the redeveloper was doing the project. And in addition to that, with respect to some of the neighbors that are here, if you know me, you know that I went around and I asked the neighboring homes and the neighboring families, a certain few. I wasn't knocking on every door, but folks are open to this because they know it's going to be improvement over what they see there now. Is it perfect? No. Were we looking at alternatives? Sure, but we're not the ones with the money. We're not the redeveloper. And so we need to, be good fiduciaries, as Mr. Baumann put it, and seek what's best for the community as a whole. And I think we did that based on the builder's experience and based on the developer's willingness to compromise from what they began with. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilman Pacheco, are you there? Councilman McDermott?
Thank you. I will concur with everything that was stated before this. the amount of time that's been done on the background, in the background. Also, as a council member who's been here since January 2019, we've attended sessions, we've looked at documentation, we've been very engaging. And I do, one thing I want to say is the ability for this developer to flex when we came back and said, we're not going to go with the massive production that you initially provided, and going back and adjusting it to duplexes for some of those areas, and then adjusting heights on the two large units. I think there has to be some, it is not ideal what we want, but it is something that is it's better than what's there. And, you know, and I have empathy, and I understand what the neighborhoods, when you have a taller building next to you, and some of that privacy concern. But I do know, as part of the governing body, this is the best that we can offer right now, and I do think that in the long run, it will be better for the area. The other side is, you know, I do know this is always, change is something very difficult, and I think if I know there's going to be some individuals who are not going to be happy, and I personally, as a person who works in Zoom full-time in my job, I have to say my emotions and my respect for everyone who speaks is always there. And you know, whether it's a moment of putting down the pen or something, I'm always attentive, respectful to everyone that engages with me, whether you're in person, Zoom, or phone. So, you know, I understand there might have been some concerns with visuals and stuff. But, you know, I think there was some concerns. And Mr. Lane, thank you for bringing those zone issues up. And I think our council kind of addressed them. But I do want to say, I know this is a very difficult decision overall, but it's the best that we can have right now.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pacheco, would you like to comment?
Yes. First, I want to apologize. I've been a little distracted tonight. My husband is working late, and in retrospect, I probably should have gotten a sitter. I will for the next meeting if this situation happens again. So I apologize. She's been jumping off the couch onto pillows. It's been kind of chaos here. I've always said that when it comes to this project in particular, we were going to have to find the sweet spot. I think we would all like to see single-family homes there. I don't think any of us, I mean, I don't speak for my colleagues, but I certainly would like to see that as well. But, you know, where this project was and where it is now, you know, I negotiate contracts for a living, and I kind of know when we've gotten what we're going to get out of the people we're negotiating with. And I think that they've come down a lot, and this might be the sweet spot. So, you know, not to belabor the point, those are my comments. And again, I apologize for tonight. I actually have to go off camera again. I'll be back.
Thank you. I would also like to add one more comment before we do a final call for public comment. That we've had other developers come in and not be as flexible, and were granted a pilot. And as Councilman Good sits on the planning board with myself and several others, we've had to extend all those agreements because they haven't even put the shovel in the ground yet. So I will say that this developer has shown initiative by what he was able to accomplish with converting the former fire patrol into ratables for the municipality by developing 6 townhomes over on Waverly and First Street in a timely manner, as well as the homes over on Broadway. So, you know, actions speak a lot louder than words. We've had Councilman Topless can vouch for this. When I first joined the Environmental Commission, the first set of plans we were looking at and have been approved for years now are the 333 First Street, where the one-story apartment stood. And I remember talking about dumpster enclosures then, and that in 45 Beer Street, and 333 First Street still sits empty. So yes, there's developers out there that'll come in and they'll pretend that they want to do everything that the municipality wants, and then they vanish because they really just wanted a plot of land with an approval on it, and then they try and sell it. So I have to say that it is important to note that the person that is interested in this plan and moving this forward has shown his actions and not just words, and put a shovel in the ground at everything else that he's presented to the borough. So I think that's also an important characteristic of this project that should be noted. And with that,
Mayor,
Mr. Baumann, unless you have any, yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor. I just wanted to say one thing, Ed. This plan, and again, I don't want it to come across, this plan is a good plan. It's not that, oh, well, this was the only thing that was left for us and we kind of were begrudgingly accepted it.
Correct.
I think that this is a good plan. Is it perfect? Well, actually, some people might think it's perfect. Some other people don't think it's perfect. But the bottom line is right now, what's sitting on a light industrial, a dilapidated warehouse, and as you know, a couple of non-conforming, actually a non-conforming use sitting on a single family lot in an RA zone. It's a development that Keyport is going to look forward to, and with certain eyes towards the future. The bottom line is this was a plan that was negotiated on behalf of Keyport, on behalf of the borough, with the entire borough in mind when we went back and forth with the developer on this. At the end of the day, this is still a very good plan for the borough, despite some shortcomings. But again, we're not going to try to aim for perfect when this is still a very good plan. Thank you.
Mr. Baumann, do you have any further commentary or any updates or edifications to anything that's been said before we go to the last round of calling for the public?
I do not, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So any other members of the public have anything else to add before we close the public? Yes, Ms. Boyko?
Yes, Tatiana Boyko, 78 Manchester Avenue. This is perfect plan for the borough. And I just want to end with this, my last saying. This is not perfect for me as living across. All of this beautiful, not the perfect, but the best, it's best for you guys because you don't live across 3-floor buildings. What I'm going to wake up one day and see no light because that's going to stay across from me. And people in 1 floor not going to see any light because 4 floors or 3 floors, this is just ridiculous. And you know, you're saying it's democracy, it's for residents, we all against. And I'm repeating, just people who not against, those who got built houses by this.
Ma'am, this is a public hearing and I would not suggest making false accusations.
It's
a matter of record. This is a public record and it's a public hearing and we're not going to have false accusations. Any other members of the public? If you're on the phone, please hit *6 if you would like to speak. Mr. Lane, please unmute yourself.
We can't unmute.
Go ahead.
There you go.
All right.
Okay.
There you go.
Just two points. One, we're not questioning the overall plan with the 2 4-story buildings in the back with 48 units. We're not talking about the duplexes in the back aligning with the parking lot. The only thing we're pressing for is what I consider a minor change, which is the lot 40. The only thing we're pressing for is lot 48 that fronts on Manchester. That's 100 feet deep. That 4 single-family homes be built on that lot instead of 3 duplexes. And the 4 single-family homes be built to the specifications of an RA district. And that the 1 lot, 42 on 7th Street, be maintained as its present zone as a single-family unit instead of being reconstructed with 4 dwelling units on a single-family lot. That's the only thing we're pressing for. We're not questioning the 2 buildings in the back, 48 units. We're not pushing on the clubhouse. We're not pushing on the back 3 duplexes. All we're asking for is a sensitivity to the homes that are across the street and next to it on Manchester and on 7th. 1 lot on 7th, 1 lot on Manchester, lot 48. And the opportunity to fine tune the plan is before you. I'll point out 2 things. One, yes, you had public hearings on the concept plans, and the concept plan changed from the 80 units to the 48 unit apartments. That was a nice step. But it turns out if you look at the documentation, the plans for the 48 unit, 60 unit existed before he submitted the plans for the higher density. It's actually documented. And I don't want to, this developer has a record of coming in asking for a lot more. And when some impedance is provided, he comes in with an alternative plan less. And that's what had occurred on Fire Patrol. He was asking for more than the 3 duplexes, if you go back and look at the record. And we suggested that didn't fit. He was asking for more than the 1 duplex on Broad and Waverly, and that didn't fit. And he was
What you're
willing.
saying is that he's a good negotiator and we should have him negotiate all of our things for the borough because he's a good negotiator.
And
Like, I mean,
I'm suggesting that this plan, which is a step forward, needs another fine tuning. And that fine tuning is a single family lot on 7th Street. And that lot 48, which is 178 feet long and 100 feet deep, be used instead of for 6 duplexes, where the duplexes are 38 feet high, that it be used for 4 single-family homes. And the price difference, the revenue difference, is got to be in the noise compared to the total cost of this project. Secondly, as I said, the details of this project were not available till June when Beacon published their plan. There were some very high-level concept plans, but the details that I presented tonight were not public until June 2020. So that's a fact. You can look at the dates. Thank you. But I don't want to lose focus. We're not arguing that the whole project should be single family. We're not arguing against the 2 apartment buildings. We're not arguing against the duplexes in the back, that if somebody wants to buy a duplex on a parking lot, that's great. We're not arguing against the clubhouse. We're not arguing against the right-of-way on Maple Place. We're suggesting that this council take an additional negotiation for lot 42 to remain single family because it abuts 5 other single family lots, and that lot 48, which is across the street on Manchester from the old factory building, and there's no question everybody wants the old factory building to go, that instead of 3 duplex buildings with 6 units, 4 single family homes could be built. And I don't think there'd be much revenue difference for the developer making that change. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mayor?
thank you, Mr. Lane. Yes, Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Lane, on a personal level, you and I have talked about redevelopment for a long time. And, you know, some of what you talk about today are issues that I agree with. So do you believe, I'm just going to ask you, do you believe that I brought this up to the developer already?
I can't answer that.
Okay, let me tell you that I did. That we definitely did, because that was in the forefront of our minds. We asked them for single family. Just as a little bit of a timeline, what was proposed on those lots was much, much higher than up until they gave us this document, and before it went to the public, it had heights that were way out of bounds, and we sent it back. Not only that, but when they were when they were doing their, when we were at the table at a redevelopment meeting, they not only had the duplexes there, they were connected. And there were 2 more buildings there in those lots. And the single family homes that they're going to be building in the current parking lot were also 4 units. So I'm saying that, that it's not for a lack of negotiation. It's not for a lack of effort. It's not that we didn't have all of this in mind when we were talking about it. And so, I just want you to understand that we did ask for single family in those lots, and it's not, it wasn't financially doable, for them. And quite frankly, when they came to us and they said, we're going to put single family homes across the street in the, where the parking lot currently is, and we're going to reduce that tract by 2 units, we asked for single families and they said they couldn't do it. That's my.
Actually, Councilman Patopoulos, can we also recall the time when they were going to put a dog park there and the whole community did not want a dog park? So they were actually looking to add a park in the vicinity, and everyone jumped and screamed that they did not want a dog park in their backyard. So they even listened to that. So, we did put forth our best effort with the citizens in mind. Let me remind you too that they're not asking for a 30-year pilot or a 15-year pilot either. So,
Yeah, Mayor, may I add one thing as well?
Sure.
It's also, the council wasn't flying blind either. When they say they can't afford something, we didn't say, oh, okay, you can't afford it. Fine. We would turn to our financial expert who would run them the numbers for us and do sensitivity analyses. And so the negotiation was informed negotiation. It wasn't just back and forth. You'll pay me 50, I'll give you a 75. We'll call that something in the middle. We would test their position against the numbers to determine whether or not we thought their negotiation stance was reasonable. So it was a negotiation, but it was an informed negotiation with the benefit of experts in the field too. So I just don't want that to be lost on everybody.
Yeah, I just remind you that the financial numbers for Mariners Village were available to us. We did a critique of them, and we noted for council major errors in those financial numbers. And the developer had to come back with new sets of numbers. And we have never been exposed to the financial numbers for this project.
Mike, you came up with errors on this project that turned out not to be errors. You had the numbers.
No, we don't have the numbers.
Not the new one.
I don't have any numbers.
Mr. Lane, you have the financial report. And you and I, in a meeting, we discussed it in detail. And you brought up you made a statement that was in error because what they were doing was, I don't recall the terms, but we did discuss the numbers. In addition, Mr. Polk brought up his numbers in that same meeting. Right. So, with regards to
discussion about all this for sure.
Right. Yeah.
So in any event, I think my only point is my point is that it was an informed negotiation. That's all.
Dennis, my memory is you had a meeting with Mr. Polk. I don't remember any meeting with me and Mr. Polk.
It was a public meeting. It was a council meeting that we discussed the numbers and you brought up the errors.
Oh, we were allowed about 3 minutes and cut off.
Oh, can I speak? I'm here, Mr. Pope.
Hold on one second. That actually, Mr. Lane, any of the meetings that we had for the public, we gave full reign for people to speak and come back up a second time at the end. Mr. Polk.
Okay, since I'm actually here, I just wanted to clarify a few things. And as a follow-up to, I guess, everyone's point that they're making regarding the financial viability of the project, the numbers that I had presented during one of the meetings a few months ago at this point, that was just to reflect what Beacon was estimating to be the cost for the developer. However, I did meet with, Councilman Fotopoulos separately. So I don't know if I can, refer to that meeting in this point,
Sure.
in this meeting, but in that particular meeting that I had, I actually pointed out to Councilman Fotopoulos that in this particular case, the developer, the project sponsor, the contractor is financing his own project. So there's really no way for anyone to really understand his costs as it's related to this particular project. Because when in a previous meeting that we had, when I did bring up my numbers and I even referred to Beacon Planning's numbers, the lawyers for the developer, they jumped in and they said that the Beacon Planning numbers were not even accurate and are not applicable. So the point I'm trying to make here is that, I'm not questioning the council members' hard work in relation to their assessment of this project. What I wanted to just point out was that when it comes to real estate development, it's very simple. It's just a money-making endeavor. And along those lines, I've lived in different towns. I've lived in South Brunswick, which is in Middlesex County. I've lived in Bethesda, Maryland, and now I'm living here in Keyport. The power actually lies with the township and the council. There will always be developers that come through different towns because they're in the business of making money. They're not in the business of trying to align their interests with the local neighborhood's interests. They're not trying to be kind. They're not trying to do charity work. They're in this to just make money. So at the end of the day, what I wanted to point out was that this developer is a project sponsored developer and contractor and is telling you that it's going to cost them a certain amount of money. There's no telling what types of agreements that he has with the current owner of the land. There's no telling how much it's actually going to cost him to develop his own project using his own financing sources. So for them to just present numbers, and the numbers that they did present was through the Beacon Planning. And when I did refer to those numbers, they gave me a quick 5-second response, which was the Beacon Planning numbers are not accurate. So therefore, they put us as I guess people that are evaluating the project in a very blind spot because there's no numbers that we can actually refer to decide if this makes financial sense to them or not. Again, going back to like what I just said a few minutes ago, they are the project sponsor, project developer, and contractor. There's no way to estimate their numbers. We're basically at their mercy when, in my opinion, I think developers and people that are just in the business of making money. And remember, this is America, so I'm not questioning their interest in making money. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, if the neighborhood is being affected, and the one consistent comment that I heard from everyone today is, this is not the ideal plan. This is not the perfect plan. However, we have to accept what the developer is going to give us.
No, we don't.
And I don't think that that's the right way to go about this because, like I said, this is America. There are a lot of developers. And like you said, they have come through this town previously and they all had different plans. But time changes. And in the market right now, liquidity and financing is very cheap. There are many developers that are willing to come to these towns and develop these projects at different levels. So I just don't want us to, leave this meeting thinking that we're at the mercy of developers that are in the business of making money. And we're supposed to be the ones that can actually, control the people that are coming into the town, not the other way around. And like I said, I'm not trying to talk down on any of your hard work. I really appreciate it. I'm new to this community, but I truly appreciate all the hard work that all the council members have put into this. I've even had the opportunity to meet with Councilman Fotopoulos in his office, and I'm very thankful for that. However, there is a little bit of a gray area when it comes to what's financially viable and what is not. Thank you very much.
Let me just try and address that.
Thank you, Mr. Polk. Can I actually just point out one other additional fact, Mr. Baumann, that I think that hasn't been brought up at all throughout this evening's public hearing, and it's a huge part. And that is that this is also an area that needs a huge amount of cleanup. And I do remember the council, they weren't council meetings, but the public meetings that we had And a lot of the financials that were being presented at that time by the public were not inclusive of any cleanup costs in that area. Mr. Baumann, can you please comment on the cleanup that is needed in that area?
Yeah, I mean, this clearly, any addressing an industrial site is going to have some extraordinary remediation costs that are associated with it. And those exist here. But the one thing I wanted to, I forgot your name, gentlemen. I'm sorry. You make some great points about
Polk.
But I think you have to understand that when we do the numbers, we're partly testing whether the developer is accurate in saying he can afford it or not. But more importantly, we're testing whether or not a different developer would come in and do what we want. And in that case, it's appropriate to use the numbers we're using because we're putting them against the marketplace. And so what we're doing in that, because he has the contract to purchase the property, he's the person we have to deal with. We could say, no, we're not going to agree with you, and his deal would collapse and he would go to another project as you described. And so then what we're trying to advise the governing body is, okay, what is the likelihood of someone else to come along if we say no to this plan and we adopt, for example, a redevelopment plan with only single family homes? What's the likelihood of someone developer stepping into the abyss or into the project and doing that transaction, and then weigh that against what's the likelihood of the industrial user continuing to just have an industrial use if he needed to generate income off his property, which he already owns. So it's the analysis is as much trying to figure out what this particular developer can afford, which is more complicated when he's the sponsored developer and he's, has his own construction company, et cetera. But it's a good way to figure out what someone else might be able to perform. And then you do use numbers that are industry standards and all the things we went through. So you have to remember that the analysis is not so much, it's partly whether or not we think we could get him to where we want him to be, but it's also if we say no to him, what's the likelihood of the marketplace producing us with someone else that'll step in and do what we want. So it's a little more nuanced and complex than perhaps you were describing, but I understand your point.
Thank you for your response. I just wanted to, the point that I was trying to make was a follow-up to also Mr. Lane, which was just, the small minor adjustment that Mr. Lane was asking for. I was just saying that as a project sponsor, developer, and contractor, the minor change that, to switch from 6 duplexes to 4 single families, that's a small change that we're requesting from the developer. And as, as a developer, contractor, and project sponsor, and financing his own project, it just in my personal opinion that I don't think he will feel too much of a discomfort in making that change. Again, thank you very much to everyone. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Kelsey?
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. It just seems a reduction in height of these duplexes might go a long way. Have any of you guys explored the reduction in height? I think there's a big change going from 6 units to 4 units being single family, but if you could just lower that height, I think that really would reduce the impact on the immediate homes. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak before we close to the public?
No answer, I guess.
If anyone's on the phone, can they please hit *6?
Just to clarify, Dennis, I think the only time I was involved with numbers were with the beacon numbers, which we were told to throw out.
Nobody ever told me to throw them out, but yes, those are the numbers that I'm referring to.
Yeah, at the public meeting, they told us to throw them out.
Any other members of the public, if you're on the phone, would you please push *6 if you'd like to speak? Any other members on video wish to speak before we close it to the public? Mr. Kelsey? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Does anybody care to answer my question about if anybody considered the heights or what? Is it just totally off the table or unreasonable? That's all.
Definitely.
Mayor, if I may, we did ask them to adjust the heights. They actually came down, I think, and I'm going by memory here, so excuse me if I'm not exactly accurate, but with the parking, making sure that there's not too much on-street parking and saying you have to provide the essentially garage level, the height of the first floor and the second floor, that's how much they can they could have shrunk it down to and still, built the project like that. So yes, it was actually higher. We had them lower it, but I think they also had I don't want to say a floor, because they were providing the parking underneath with the garage, that kind of lifted it a bit. So yes, we did push back. They did come down, and this was as low as we could get them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, if I don't hear or see a raised hand. Going once, going twice. Can I please have a motion to close to the public?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any council members have any discussion before we move forward? Okay, next I would need, if so fit, to have a motion to adopt ordinance 9-20.
Almost so move.
I'll second.
Okay, can I please have a roll call, Jay?
On the motion to adopt the ordinance, Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Mr. Good,
Yes.
Ms. McDermott,
We didn't hear you, Delia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
and Mr. Sheridan.
Yes.
Can I please have a motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance as adopted?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes or abstain? Okay, thank you. Next, we have communications by consent. We have items number 1 through 3 for approval and nothing to receive and file. So does anyone have any questions on items 1 through 3? I believe number 3 for the approval, Captain Torres is still working with Recreation because they need diagrams presented to them on what's going to be part of that. When we approved the original event for September 26th, I had suggested that Butler Street be closed, but that was never part of a motion. So I strongly encourage that tonight. If that's now part of the communication. So I know that that's also suggested by Captain Torres to have Butler Street closed. So that is, except for where Verizon has to get out, I think is the only part that we can't close off. But I just want to point that out. So if there's any commentary on items 1 through 3 from the council?
I was just gonna, it's Councilwoman McDermott, I was gonna say that actually it should be amended to say foreclosure, Butler Street.
Foreclosure? Okay.
Foreclosure. Thank you.
Can we do that with the
I mean,
garage
just
building?
one minor clarification. Looks like the ceremony is scheduled now to begin at 1:30, but the original request was for the closing from 2 p.m. So I would suggest that
So the closing of the
clear-
street would be from, speak with Captain Torres, it would be for 1 to 7 p.m.
And the Verizon, Mayor, you mentioned, and I agree about the Verizon parking lot.
So my understanding is if they put up this, we'll let their trucks in and out, but I think we'll still close it. But I guess maybe let their
Everything
trucks in
else.
and out if they have to.
Understood.
I believe Captain Torres might have been able to make the call. I'm not sure if she's still on, but we can work that out, logistics somehow, I guess. Hopefully on a Saturday, they're not in and out as much as they are on the week.
Yep.
Or hopefully late in the afternoon at least.
Just to confirm, Councilman McDermott, I know you and I touched base with you earlier to make sure you spoke with Captain Torres because she had asked me questions. I didn't know any of the answers, so I referred her to you. This is all post that conversation with the exception of
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and the helmets are being donated and all that extra stuff, yes.
Okay, so if there isn't any other commentary, we would need, when they move, whoever motions is going to need to say that it includes the amendment to be a full closure instead of partial closure, and that the time should be from 1 to 7 instead of 2 to 6. So if anyone, when they motion to approve and receipt and file communications. they
Motion
can
with
do
those
that.
edits to item number 3.
I second. I was like, I don't think I was gonna remember all that.
Thank you. Can I please have a roll call, Jay?
Councilman Cooper,
Yes.
Councilman Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilman Good,
Yes.
Councilwoman McDermott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pacheco,
Yes.
and Councilman Sheridan.
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have approval of minutes from August 18th, 2020 and September 1st, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please, Jay?
Councilman Cooper,
Yes.
Councilman Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilman Good,
Yes.
Councilwoman McDermott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pacheco,
Yes.
and Councilman Sheridan.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have reports of departments. We have municipal clerk's report for August 2020, tax water sewer collector's report for August 2020, Board of Health treasurer's report for August 2020, building department's monthly report for August 2020, municipal court monthly report for August 2020. If I can just have a motion to accept and file.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Noes or abstain? Thank you. Next, we have, do we have any movement, Mr. Moon or Jay, on the borough property usage agreement?
Nothing at this time, Mayor. We will have a draft ready for review prior to the next meeting.
Thank you. Councilman Sheridan, I know this came through late after the agenda was closed, but you did ask for this to be put on, and Jay reviewed it last minute. And I'm not sure if Councilman Sheridan or Mr. Delaney want to kind of give a summary of what the Veterans Housing with CARES Act fund is.
Yeah, Mayor, I do apologize for asking to have this put on so late in our agenda making. Due to the late hour, I know everybody got the information on this, but maybe I can have the person that's doing this veterans housing can come on and actually give a little presentation. And that would help Mayor and Council. It's a very worthy program. Mr. Fotopoulos and myself were had a conference with her, and it's something that it's basically to have Keyport join a consortium to help veterans, and it doesn't cost anything. There's no financial binding, but it is last minute, and the hour is late right now. So I wouldn't mind just tabling this right now, and we could talk about it at the first meeting in October, and maybe I could set up where the person in charge of this can talk and then better be able to answer questions of Mayor and Council. So if anybody's concerned about that, that's how I feel about
And they
it.
said that they don't need, and this, although it's an important topic, they need it before Veterans Day in November, correct? So
Right.
waiting until October would be okay? Okay.
It was their
We're not-
intent to open this on Veterans Day. So that gives us a little bit of time. But like I said, I apologize for bringing this in last minute to the agenda. And thank you, Jay and Michelle, and you for putting it on. But unless Dennis has anything, I know you went through the same.
Yeah, we scheduled a time and work prevented me from getting in, but I appreciate Joe sitting in. And then the organizer was kind enough to have a separate session for me. Joe and I are both versed on it. It would benefit the council to have him come in. But Joe, I defer to you and Isaiah, Councilman Cooper on this. But it has my support based on my knowledge.
Okay.
We'll table this till October. Councilman Sheridan, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that would be my that would be what I would like to
Jay,
do.
are you okay with that? Okay.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unfinished business? Any council members? Attorney's report?
Well,
No,
Mayor, I know Mr. Lane had a couple of questions for unfinished business. Did we want to talk about that? If we could?
Sure. Sure.
There was the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit that Councilwoman Pacheco already touched on. The NPP floodgate proposed location that I believe Councilwoman Pacheco touched on, the outfall pipe fix timeline, and the pedestrian safety input meeting timeline. That's all I recall hearing what Mr. Lane had to say.
And that's all been answered, correct?
Right, I don't know about the outfall, and I don't know about the next time the pedestrian tap safety input meeting timeframe is going to be.
Okay. I think Councilwoman Pacheco talked about a meeting with the Harbor Commission, but Jay, actually, you could give an update on what the engineers are looking at and actually Trevor Taylor's on the call still. So either Jay or Trevor, if you can give updates on the outfall.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And again, Trevor is on the line this evening. To answer Mr. Lane's question, last Friday, the contractor on the portion of the drainage system from Division Street and East Front Street removed a check valve that was included and installed as part of that project. So that is the first step in the process. The engineer believes that that may have been the cause of the backlog or the not allowing the outflow. The duct bill remains, but that will continue to be monitored. We do believe that the removal of the check valve is a step in the right direction. So we'll see if that does result in improved drainage during those rainstorm events. And as far as the TAP program, there was just correspondence in the last day going out to the various utility companies. So that process is just starting. It's in the very preliminary stages for the pedestrian safety improvement project.
Mayor, it's Trevor. Just to add to that, once the preliminary design is complete, there will be letters going to all residents that live along the improvement route for the TAP program. So that will be going out sometime in the next couple months, most likely, and that will kind of kick off the public portion of the project.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Trevor. Okay, next, if I can have a motion to open to the public with 5-minute limit per person, please.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any members of the public on video have anything to comment on this evening? Mr. Kelsey?
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. Could we have an update on what's going on with Mariners Village? I know, Mayor, you had mentioned some extensions of deadlines or what have you. Has the pilot deadline been extended for them? If so, for how long? And have they applied for building permits at all? Does anybody know where they're at?
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll
Mr.
handle
Baumann?
this. No.
Oh,
Or joking.
okay.
Councilman.
Sorry, either one of you.
Andrew, the deadlines were the site plan request for the planning board for Mariners Village. So that was the reference. With regard to the pilot, nothing's been addressed. I believe we've gotten a request, but it's not been, we haven't done anything with it. I think one of the main, and then the deadline that they have is for the site plan approval goes until December of this year. That's the only thing that's been agreed to so far. And I think that one of the triggering points for them to pull the permits on Mariners Village has to do with the marina. And my understanding is that almost almost done with their application for the marina. I haven't seen our planning board agenda for this month, but it's not on there for this month. I heard through the grapevine that it might be on for October, but we'll know better in October.
Is that the site plan for the marina?
Yes.
And then, but I guess they can't apply for permits until that gets approved. Was that the deal?
Correct.
Okay.
That was part of the approvals for the Browns Point Marina, was that they had to get the approvals for the marina before they could roll anything.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Batman, do you have anything to add to that?
I was just going to add that we've advised them that we're not bringing anything to the governing body without progress by the developers. So any requests for extensions or otherwise, we're not even going to spend the time and energy to bother the governing body with it.
Thank you. Any members of the public that are on video, if you want to raise your hand, Mr. Lane?
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. Couple of questions or comment. It was great to see progress being made on the dumpster enclosure behind Junkology place along American Legion Drive. That's great that it's finally happening. Trevor, can you give some insight as to whether the four-way stops that the Yacht Club has asked for and the four-way stop that we talked about at the intersection of Broad and First are in the plan?
Mayor, can you hear me? I think I'm unmuted again. Okay, yeah. As I indicated, we are wrapping up the base maps for the project, and I do have the letter that the Yacht Club submitted to Mayor and Council a few months ago. So we'll be looking at those items when we begin the preliminary design. And of course, as I said earlier, there will be a public comment as well as we move forward with that. So we'll make sure we take those considerations and any others that we get into the design process.
All right, I just mentioned the intersection of Broad and First. People coming down the hill, really dangerous. There's no stop sign. And so we had asked for a four-way stop at that site. Let's see. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Thank you, Trevor. Any other members of the public on video, please raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Okay, now we'll move to the phone lines. If anyone on the phone line would like to speak, please hit *6 on your phone.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Graham?
Yes, Elmer Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. What is the latest on the Complete Streets initiative?
I'll defer to Councilwoman Pacheco or Councilman Patopoulos.
Sure. So the latest, Elmer, is that we're on the verge of engaging the public again, of which you'll be a part. Basically, the next steps are the discussion of the plan and when the public gets involved, but we're moving right along. It's actually quite an aggressive schedule if you ask some of the participants, but yeah, we're moving right along. We've met probably 2 or 3 times a month for the last couple of months. So
Yeah, and we'll be meeting next week.
Yep.
Not tomorrow, but okay.
Do you have any other questions, Mr. Graham, about that?
My particular interest on the Complete Streets initiative is especially the pedestrian part in the borough of Keyport and stuff like that. Anything new about that?
It's all going to be addressed in the plan itself. And then once the plan is developed, there's going to be plenty of time and plenty of opportunity for you and the rest of the public to participate in that discussion. And once the plan is developed, the council will put a resolution forth to approve it, which is what we're doing. Yeah, that's hopefully what we're going to do. There's a couple of options we have, but I think that's the one we're going with.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Denny.
Yeah, we're not leaving you out, Elmer. You're one of the stakeholders, so you're going to be involved, as will other members of the public.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else on the phone line? If you wish to speak, please hit *6 on your phone. Going once, going twice.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Yes.
Yes.
John Marula, 34 Broad Street, Keyport. Couple questions. One is regarding Division Street between East Front and 3rd. I heard earlier tonight the engineer report regarding the check valve. Couple of questions related to this project. Number one, is the project complete? Has the contractor been paid?
Trevor, are you still on the line?
Yes, the contract is not closed out at this point.
He is or he isn't?
Is not.
Okay. Let me ask you this, if you're familiar with the project, which I assume you are. Councilman Sheridan said earlier, you know, it's hurricane season coming and winter's coming. The line that was replaced on Division Street, the storm water line, drainage line, was that the same size of the previous line that was underneath that street, or was it enlarged, or was it reduced, to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, the only pipes that were replaced are the pipes that cross under East 1st Street and under Division Street, and that was due to replacement of the sanitary sewer lines. The remainder of the pipes out there were not upgraded. There are a couple pipes that go underneath buildings, including Dawn's Auto Body. So obviously those can't be upsized.
Okay. I'm really concerned about that, Trevor, and I'm going to tell you why. I grew up in that area. My family owned and operated a business on the corner of East Front and Division for years. And I remember as a kid that street flooding. And I remember, so it goes back a long time, just didn't happen overnight. However, I also remember never seeing it as bad as the last 4 times that we've had some serious rain and storm. It was pretty high, I'm going to be honest with you, and for a street that was resurfaced and some of the drainage that should have been corrected if we had televised the stormwater. I mean, I can tell you that the collection of water that pours into that line comes all the way from the municipal parking lot off of Broad Street. I mean, it comes in through there, goes underneath the diner into that that pipe, and it also drains from 3rd Street. So there's a lot of water collection. I just hope, you know, the check valve works on that issue. The other issue, Mayor, I'd like to just get some clarification on is the brown water from the tap. I know I had a discussion with Mr. Delaney last week when it was brought to my attention that, and I've seen it, that there was some brown water discoloration in town, and it's not the first time or the second or the third. It's been a while, and I know they said hydrants were being flushed, which I can understand. You will get a reduction in pressure and you will get some discoloration. However, it's a continued pattern now, and it's not just in one section or two sections. It seems like it's in a couple different sections of town. My question to you is, the annual water report that goes out to all residents that pay water and sewer in this community, has the most recent report gone out that you know of?
It was due to go out, I think, in June.
Yeah, I know some people didn't receive that, and that's why I was asking. And I'm wondering now if why the holdup. That doesn't come from the borough, right? That comes from the. Does it come from the borough, or does it come from someone that does the testing of the water?
Sure.
Yes, the annual water report is issued by the borough. Because the borough also purchases water from shoreland, that information is also included. The current report, the most recent report, which was, as the mayor indicated, was distributed in June, is also available on the borough's website. And that includes the reports and test results for the 2019 year.
Okay. Oh, so it's been out. It's been distributed.
Yeah, in June it went out.
Okay.
I just want to clarify. I just want to point out, Mr. Merla, that there's not a member of the municipal staff or governing body that is not concerned or frustrated with the water situation. It did get under control for several weeks, and then it was time to switch back to shorelands. That schedule was actually supposed to happen over Labor Day weekend. Mr. Delaney intercepted that and said that that would not be the good timing to do over a holiday weekend because he wanted to be able to monitor it better. And then they scheduled it simultaneously with the hydrant flushing in hopes that when it was transferred to the different system, and if we timed it with the hydrant flushing, it would push out the sediment that sits at the bottom of the pipes when they do the flushing. So Mr. Delaney has been monitoring the flushing with DPW. I will continue to stress over and over and over and over and over again that the borough has implemented a system on our website, and that is the best way for us to maintain any type of accurate records of where the problems are coming from. When the people are going and having multiple conversations with multiple people, that does not behoove us to be able to narrow down where the problem is. If it's something that might be needed to be addressed in the resident's home versus whether it's something that's coming from a municipality, we want to get to the bottom of it. But we can't do that if all these other people are circumventing the process that we pay to put in place to be able to assist our constituents. So I would encourage, we've put it out in phone blasts, we've put it out on social media, it's on the first part when you click on our municipal website to submit something, and if they submit their name and address and where they're having an issue with the water, or the phone number is public, Jay's phone number is public, my phone number is public, Denise's phone number is public, DPW's phone number is public, and if those phone calls and the reporting structures that are set up are not being followed, all that does is that send everybody in a rat race of I heard this and I heard this and I heard that. That doesn't behoove or help anybody. So we are asking if people are on this line that they get calls, that they defer them to the ways that the municipality has set up to be able to track this. We are also looking into putting out other ways to be able to track where and how often it's happening. It is a concern to everyone, I believe, on this entire dais, and I'll allow them to speak if they differ, but it is also one of the reasons that we spent so much money and went out to bond to have a new water treatment plant. Well, brown water, as you know, people have commented over and over again, has been an issue in the borough for decades. This didn't just start now. Am I oblivious to that? Maybe it seems like it's happening more frequently now. I don't know. Is that also, you know, because a lot of people have been home in the last 6 months? Is that really because it's because of the water treatment plant? Is it a combination of both? Is it a combination of multiple facets? That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of, and it is definitely being taken seriously.
Mayor, if I may, I'm sorry. Just
hold on, Mr. Mullin. Go ahead, Mr. Good.
I just wanted
Yes, okay.
to also throw in at least, I know one point, I think Trevor, I know he's on, at least I see his name, so if he has to correct me. Mr. Merle, as you know, the borough's water lines just running through town, many of them are decades, actually more than decades old. So when you have those very old pipes that just haven't gotten around to being replaced, you are going to get some kind of delamination from, and I believe that they're old iron pipes too, which would discolor the water. I've seen the pictures on Facebook, and I know that there's been, actually you and I have discussed that where there are some flushing issues, and then there was one when we were finishing the plant. But one of the issues that we're not going to just be able to really correct 100% is until we replace 100% of the water lines and the water mains that are running through town. And that is, you know, we're working on it, but that's also a very hefty lift from a financial standpoint. So I believe that some of that discoloration is, you know, unfortunately due to the age of the pipes. And I know that if I'm wrong, Trevor will chime in right here.
Councilman Good, that's exactly, I believe, correct after conversations, you know, over the last several years, not just the last 6 months about the brown water in Keyport. This isn't the first time that this has happened for sure. But, you know, that's another reason that having the reporting structure of the website, you know, that's what that system does. That's what we pay for to have on the website, so that if we need data to be able to support a project to go out to repair, if we don't have that data, you know, that's not really going to be a reason to go out to bond to fix something. Trevor, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Councilman Good said about the age of the pipes and attributing a little bit of the discoloration to that. I think also with the reporting, if we see trends in where the dirty water is or brown water, you can look at things like dead ends and, you know, additional hydrants that can be installed to flush the water mains in some different areas, which would help get some of that sediment out of the water and make sure that it's, you know, the flushing is doing what it needs to do in those certain areas. So it is important, not just from a reporting issue to know, you know, where it is, but for also future improvements in addition to replacing mains, which may help with some of the discoloration.
Mr. Merle, does
Okay.
that answer your question?
Not really, but to move on with I was still asking, but you had spoke, so I let you speak. Now, just so you know, I'm not playing the blame game. I'm worried about the issue at large. The issue is brown water, okay? And you could say that it's been an issue for several years. Yes, and we just did a major improvement to our water plant, spending and bonding monies for a long time to hopefully rectify some problems in the community, like not being buying water, you know, in the future years, because now maybe well 7 and well 8 could go back on, and maybe we could sell water. In any event, the issue is brown water. Like I said, I had a discussion with Mr. Delaney. Trevor just backed up my discussion with Mr. Delaney regarding flushing. Back a couple months ago, I brought up about flushing hydrants, and I'll bring it up again. It's not fair to say to the public we're flushing every hydrant in Keyport. We are flushing every hydrant in Keyport on borough streets. That's what the Public Works Department is doing. There's hydrants on private property. There's a hydrant down at the Aero Marine that's metered. I know we're not flushing that because they'd have to pay for the water. So what I'm saying to you is we should really take a hard look at the flushing. It's like changing your oil in the car and forgetting to change the filter. So with that said, like I said to you, I'm here because I'm listening to residents, okay? Maybe those residents that you're talking about, Mayor, don't know how to pass that data on to Keyport, and maybe they do. That's why I called Mr. Delaney with the problems and questions that I had. And in all fairness, you know, the comments that were made on social media, mine were fair. Mine didn't point blame at nobody. They were questions and answers that could help the problem, not hurt it. With that said, I'd like to just point out one other thing, and then I'll let you guys go. I know it's been a long night. If there's a possibility, and only if there's a possibility, I would hope the council can move towards looking at several key parks and rehabilitated parks that we've done in the past years, which are big expenses, and look towards getting cameras. I am totally disgusted with what I see at our boat ramp on those benches, that people spent hours and hours and hours just to have somebody go down there and pull them apart, the tiles off those beautiful mosaic benches for our community. And at one time, I know we were talking about putting a camera down there and, you know, make the public aware, yes, there is a camera, and you know what, you're going to be caught, you're going to be prosecuted for destroying borough property. And I would hope that, you know what, maybe we should take another look at that. The skate park, big money, you know, maybe we should take a look at that. It's not, you know, it's just one thing after the other, but that is, to me, a pet personal peeve. You spend good money, and a lot of people volunteered their time to make our community better, and a couple of bad eggs come along and start to destroy personal borough property, which I think is a sin. Last but not least, Mayor, I just wanted to point out the Public Works Department with the branches over the past 2 months. Kudos to those individuals and that department. They did a great job of cleaning up this community, and we all should be proud of them, because I know there's not many, but the guys that work in that department deserve to be recognized, and I see it every day how hard they do work, along with other borough employees. So with that, I say thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to speak, please push *6. Oh, Mr. Kelsey?
Yes, Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. If you guys could check the link for the report submitting on the borough website, make sure it's functioning, because it doesn't appear to be functioning right now. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak on the phone, please push *6. Going once, going twice. Can I please have a motion to close to the public? Have a second?
Second.
On favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Moon, do you need to read the statement for closed session?
Basically, I'm asking for closed session to discuss a potential contract negotiation issue. The resolution has been prepared and to enter into closed session, so I'm just going to ask for a vote.
We have to vote to go into closed session?
Yeah, there's a resolution to authorize to enter into closed session.
Mr. Moon, might there be some action taken after closed session?
That's to be determined. So we're not ending the meeting per se.
Right. But Mr. Good is asking if there
might be action taken after the closed session.
Right. So what would we have to do? We'd have to come out of this Zoom session, go into the closed session Zoom meeting. And
yeah. So you're talking about the technical aspect of it.
Yeah, I'm talking about, the process.
Okay. So there was another meeting link that was circulated for the closed session for members of the board. So we're going that you're going to leave this meeting and log into the second link that was circulated earlier today.
Then we
But
come
this
back.
meeting stays active to come back to
Nothing
this
will
one?
active to close this meeting, yes.
I don't
So
think
this
you're not
meeting
gonna,
doesn't get closed?
I don't think you're gonna be able to have two sessions open from the same administrative user.
So Jay, is it possible to leave that meeting, your meeting running, and then sort of communicate with, and then so leave the meeting running, but we'll all leave and then come back?
I think that's what you're gonna have to do, because if the host signs out, we all get logged out.
Right.
Well, there's the answer. We'll leave this meeting running and start a separate meeting.
You're just going to have to mute.
Yeah.
So the link that was sent this afternoon isn't going to work because they're just seeing this is the same account from here? Is that what you're saying, Delia?
Yeah, I mean, you can't have on your same computer two concurrent Zoom sessions.
Okay.
You have to have another device.
Well, I think.
Well, wouldn't we just leave this one, just sign out from here, sign into the next one, and then come back later and sign?
Right,
in?
but the Borough laptop is what's running both, is what she's saying. So it's the account user, right? Because Jay is running. So Jay is the operator. So, but Jay, could you go on your cell phone and then for the second link? Okay. Okay. So we're gonna leave this meeting running. The dais is gonna log out, and we'll see you on the other link.
I would just recommend,
that's a little crazy.
I would recommend, Jay, that you mute everyone automatically so conversations do not occur while we're not on record.
Understood.
You guys won't be in here though, right? You're going to be leaving this meeting entirely and then coming back into it, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, and Jay, maybe we'll go upstairs and do the second link on my phone. Okay. That's what we'll do. We'll see you guys up in a minute, and then that way we're not even in the same room to conflict with it. We're going to try that.
That should work.
Bye.
So the next step would be the motion to adopt the resolution.
Oh, sorry.
Motion
to adopt the resolution. Sorry, this is our first close on Zoom, so motion to close.
Motion.
Close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
So are we using the same Zoom session that we got an email to?
The one that Jay sent out.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, wait, did you send that from the same account though? I don't know. I think Delia is right. I think you can't have two from the same.
Another
You
alternative.
can only know if we try.
So another alternative.
What, Joe?
Another alternative is to have a hard stop on our closed session and agree to everyone log back on at a hard time. Make it 10:30. I know it's a late night. So we could log out of this public notice that we have a hard.
Guys, I have Zoom that's over the 40-minute limit. Do you want me to just send the link out from my Zoom?
I don't know that we could do that because it has to be recorded. No, it doesn't have to be recorded. You can't record a closed session, right? So, Joe Bauman, would that work if we used her? Or do you guys have one from the law firm?
I could just send a conference call line. Do we have?
That might be better.
Yeah.
I'll circulate a conference call number.
All right.
Okay, and then we'll just leave this running.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should be expecting an email shortly with that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But I don't mind the hard stop though either, by the way.
Okay, I'm stopping my camera and I'm muting.